Hey, welcome back. Glad you guys are here. We're getting ready to talk about day two. What you guys are going to learn is how to make units match your answer and how to use standard units. And then down there at the bottom is our standard for today. Okay, we have a lot of equations. If you want to take time to pause and get all those down, you can do that. Today specifically, though, we're going to be talking about dimensional analysis. A powerful way to check your calculations is to use unit analysis. Not only must the numerical values on both sides of an equation be equal, the units must be equal as well. And then they've just given us some units, and we'll talk about more of these as time goes on. Unit analysis. Units may be manipulated algebraically just as other quantities are. So, for example here, in this example, they talk about velocity on the left-hand side has to be equal. So if we're going to say that this over here, all right, if this over here is going to be equal to the velocity on this side, then velocity plus acceleration times time also has to be equal to velocity. So what they're doing is, they're showing us is with the unit analysis, they're showing us that this velocity is meters per second, v naught is meters per second, acceleration is meters per second squared, and time is in seconds. Now I know some of this is a little bit difficult because you don't necessarily recognize these units, but I'm just showing you what unit analysis is, whether or not you actually realize that acceleration is meters per second squared right now. So what we can do here then is, you can see they've taken seconds squared and made it seconds times seconds, and then they put this seconds over here. I'll do this, sometimes that makes it a little easier for students. So that right there, this is the acceleration, this over here is the time. So this right here is the v naught acceleration, and there's the time. The seconds cancel out, so now we just have meters per second, which is here, and then this canceled out. Oh, sorry, meters per second, which is here, and now this is just meters per second. Well, you learned from algebra that x plus x doesn't give you x squared, it just gives you 2x, but the variable doesn't change. Alright, so in this case, meters per second plus meters per second, alright, if this was 1 meter per second plus 1 meter per second, you would get an answer of 2 meters per second. So nothing's going to change. Alright, so that's what we call unit dimensionality. What we had on the left, the units on the left, equal what the units will end up being on the right. So in this case right here, let's take a look at this. Right, let's do some simplification and find out, does this end up being the same on both sides? Well, we're going to get seconds times seconds would give us seconds cubed. Meters times meters would give us meters squared. Now this is just totally made up units here. Over here on the right hand side, the seconds would cancel out, the kilograms would cancel out, and we're left with just meters. Obviously the answer to this is false. Alright, the units on both sides don't equal each other. Okay, so what I want you to do here is take a second. You're going to have to pause your computer and get down these units for length. Alright, I'm going on. Pause your computer, write these units down for weight. Pause your computer, write down these units for time. Pause your computer, write down these units for capacity. Alright, on here then. Unit conversions. A unit conversion factor simply lets you express a quantity in terms of other units without changing its physical value or size. The fraction in blue is the conversion factor. So its numerical value is 1. 1 yard over 3 feet. Well, 1 yard is 3 feet, so it's the same thing. So it's, when you take 1 yard and divide it by 3 feet, you're going to get 1. They're the same thing. Like 5 divided by 5 is 1. I don't know how else to put that for you. Place a 1. So how to convert? So what you're going to do is, when you ever have something you have to convert, you want to start by placing a 1 under the measurement to be converted. Write down the next conversion in sequence. Make sure the units will cancel out. Which means that if you had cups on top, then in your next one you wanted to have cups on bottom. So that's what we mean by saying the units will cancel out. Once you have all of that written out, you multiply across and then divide. So that's our steps here. So here's our example. Notice that they took the 2 gallons and they put it over 1. They then wrote down the next conversion, which was 4 quarts to a gallon. The way you know which goes where is you have to have the gallons cancel out. So if gallons is on top here, it's got to be written on bottom here. So now the gallons cancel out. Again, we have 2 pints in a quart, so that the quarts cancel out, the quarts have got to be written in this case on bottom. Pints and pints. Cups and cups. So our next step then, we just finished step number 2. Our next step is to multiply across. So 2 times 4 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 8 is 256, I believe, off the top of my head. Over 1. So yes, so we have 256 ounces. I guess that was 256, wasn't it? Alright, here's another example for us. Alright, 92,100 seconds into how many days? Again, seconds. Alright, they wrote down the next one. Again, they knew that seconds had to go on bottom so that it would cancel out. Minutes had to go on bottom so that it would cancel out. So you write them out, and then we multiply across, and then we divide. When you multiply across, you're going to get 92,100 divided by okay, when I took 60 times 60 times 24, I got 86,400. So we're going to take 92,000 divided by 86,400, and then we obviously get and it's 1.1 days. Sorry, and the days are the only thing that's left because everything else has canceled along the way. Alright, here's one that I want you to have tried and have finished before we come back to class tomorrow. Alright, I'll give you a hint. They've already taken the 2 years, put it over 1. The next conversion, well, years has to go on bottom. So 1 year, and I would go to 365 days, and then you're going to continue on. So I'm just trying to get you started here. We'll finish that, or you guys should have that finished when you come into class. Alright, what did you guys learn today? Alright, you should be able to check. Alright, in this case here, check this unit analysis and correct. So there's something possibly wrong here. Fix it if it needs to be. And then here I've got you to convert one more thing. I want you to convert 400 ounces into gallons. Hope this was informational for you. I'll catch you on the flip side.